If you live in a county like Butte County, you've seen the Apple Watch present on people's wrists everywhere. So how's mine been treating me for the past 5 months, and what are we gonna see come when it's time for the Series 4 to come about? Is there really anything else they can do? So yeah, it's kind of random when these happen. Sometimes I do a year later review, sometimes I do a 1 month later, but I figured we hadn't really had a dedicated video just for an Apple Watch in a little while, and I still get lots and lots of comments about people saying if they want cellular or non-cellular, or should we wait for the Series 4, so I think now's an appropriate time to talk about it. So first of all, I would like to just say that I am incredibly grateful that I invested in the stainless steel version of the Series 3. Started off with the aluminum one on launch day, and then around Christmas time decided to treat myself to the upgrade, and the fact that it has sapphire glass, I can truly tell, is what Apple really wanted for people to have. I didn't really get to tell this story in an edited video, but when we were moving into this new office at Project 2X, there were often times I was walking through doorways and banging my wrists against trim and against walls. And several times it happened to be the wrist that my Apple Watch was on, and I'd get really worried. Because if you don't remember, one of the reasons I was kind of ready to let go of my aluminum Apple Watch Series 3 was that Ion X glass, while pretty strong, was still easily scuffable, and a lot of the times I would brush against a doorknob really hard or brush it against a wall, especially during this whole moving process, it would show light signs of wear, and I didn't like that. Now, after moving all into this office, I'm proud to announce that there is not a single scuff, not a single noticeable scratch on the entire sapphire glass thing, which I get is the purpose. That's why you have a sapphire glass screen. Now, I have been told that the sapphire is a lot more brittle, which means that if you drop the Apple Watch, it has a lot more likeliness to crack. However, I sadly know a family member who dropped his Apple Watch. He had a Series 2 aluminum, and that dropped on cement, unfortunately, and it still cracked. So overall, Apple Watches have a hard time dropping because you're not pulling them out of your pocket, obviously. But either way, don't chance it with your watch. One thing I recommend to anyone is anytime you're taking your Apple Watch off, whether you're showing it to someone, you're charging it, or maybe you just don't want this ugly tan line to be so visible on your arm, and maybe you're trying to get some sun on it. Try to be as aware of your surroundings as you possibly can, and keep in mind if you're above a hard surface, like if you're above a tile floor or you're outside on a sidewalk, and keep in mind that if you're taking it off and you get these sport bands mixed up, which I've seen people do, sometimes people don't really understand. You gotta hold on to the back part of it, pin it on the back, and then tuck it under. If you don't have that muscle memory down and you happen to slip up on it and it falls, it can result in a pretty hard to fix display, especially if you don't have Apple Care. But I'm aware of that kind of thing. I'm very careful with my tech. I've never broken an iPhone, but I also thought I'd comment on the stainless steel itself of my Apple Watch, which, despite, like I said, being brushed up or banged against walls occasionally, especially during this whole moving process, I found 0 scuffs on the stainless steel itself. Usually on my aluminum ones, you might catch a ding here and there, maybe a scratch if you've been working in some place where there's a lot of metal around you, like I used to work on a Mandarin Ranch and I would scratch my Series 2 occasionally. But durability-wise, this has really been holding up. I can't find a single problem with it. One complaint I might mention about the stainless steel is it's definitely more of a fingerprint magnet, as in usually when you take it off, you see how many smudges are on there. It's a lot more glossy, so if you want it to be looking in tip-top shape, I usually have to clean it off pretty often, but for the most part, extremely satisfied with it. A lot of people also like to ask, how often do you really use the cellular feature? I thought, given it's been a few months since I unboxed the Apple Watch Series 3 with cellular and paired it with my iPhone, I can be honest with you and just say that no, I don't constantly use the cellular feature, but I think it's not really there for you to constantly be using it. I mean, Apple's most profitable product is the iPhone. I don't think they'd make a product that they want to encourage you to stop using your iPhone for. But what it is nice for is those rare occasions when you don't want to take your phone with you, or, as rare as this may sound, sometimes yes, I leave my iPhone somewhere and I go, oh yeah, I don't have my iPhone with me. But you don't feel as disconnected, you don't feel as lost when that happens. And my God, I feel hypocritical now, because in the old days I used to talk about how I never forget my phone. What difference does it make? And now life gets so busy, there's so many things I'm trying to keep track of, and I've got wireless chargers everywhere for my iPhone. Plus, this is almost a defect of the Apple ecosystem, almost, keep in mind. It's not actually one. When I'm on my iMac Pro editing and working and stuff, people may be texting me or someone may call me and I can respond to it on there. I can answer calls on there there and respond to texts and keep up to date with stuff, that between my iPad, MacBook, and iMac, I'm doing everything that my phone can do anyway. So when I have to run out and I need to grab something, run some errands, I usually just turn around and leave. And occasionally I'll be like, oh yeah, I don't have my phone in my pocket, but because I have my Series 3 Apple Watch, doesn't matter. The most common situations, in which I think I've listed to you guys before, have still been when I'm working out. If you want to go for a run, you don't want your phone dangling off you, or maybe you're walking in a bad part of town and you don't want to have your wallet and phone on you. But if something were to go wrong, you want a way to contact the police, and also if someone wants to contact you, they still can. That's been great, and I'm still a mountain biker. I like going on mountain bike rides, and I typically like to leave my phone at home or at the office, because carrying your iPhone 10 around in your mountain bike pack, where you've got tubes and a pump and everything, and it's brushing up and stuff in there, I don't need to do that. So if people need to contact me, they still can. I can still do my workouts. The GPS mode still activates. It works fine. But it's not something you can do constantly. In fact, I think Apple definitely intends for you to not constantly be using the cellular feature, because the battery life of your watch definitely shrinks heavily when you are officially disconnected from your phone and going off of LTE bands. Battery life for the Apple Watch really hasn't changed since the first generation. As long as I've had it, it can last 2 days without a charge. That's how it's worked as long as I can remember. But when you switch over to that cellular mode, it definitely shrinks down to a 1-day battery life. So if you're going on an all-day trip, you're going on an all-day hike, and you're coming back home at the end of it, and you're planning on leaving your phone at home the entire time, my guess is the Apple Watch is going to be dead by the time you get home. It could probably, on a 100% charge, last all day on cellular, but then it's going to die. For the Series 4, I'm hoping Apple has plans on to improve this battery life, as in do something, because we honestly don't know much about the Series 4 or what's going to change with it. There hasn't been much development other than the fact that micro LED technology might be possible with the Series 4, which, if you don't know, is kind of like the next advancement in display technology. I mean, its pixels can be smaller, bezels can be thinner, displays can be brighter, and the technology that requires this display can be thinner. Of course, the only issue is it's very expensive to produce. And implementing that into something like an Apple Watch means that Apple has to find out a way to produce a lot of that type of technology and implement it into a very small device. We've seen it demoed on large scales, like the wall that Samsung unveiled at CES, which is just kind of a concept of what micro LED can do. But embedding that into an Apple Watch is rather tricky. And I've actually only seen one other leak or one other rumor for what the Apple Watch Series 4 might have. And again, I don't know if this is true, but it's the only other thing I've got, is that they think they might be converting to a solid state digital crown. Not that it won't spin, but similar to when Apple switched to a solid state home button on the iPhone 7, when you push on your digital crown on the Apple Watch, the taptic engine will go off, giving the illusion of a click, but it won't actually click. I have no idea what types of advantages this has to offer. Maybe it means that they have more space on the inside to work with, or that it's more water resistant, because 50 meters deep water resistant isn't deep enough. Some people want to scuba dive with their Apple Watch. Apple, come on. But it's a very interesting product line, because unlike the iMac and the iPad and the MacBook, all of us have ideas on where that can go. Everyone's like, oh, you know, iMacs can have thinner bezels, or iPads could have Face ID. They could add wireless charging. Laptops can have new processors, or touchscreen keyboards and trackpads, or they could support Apple Pencils. We have all these ideas for other product lines, including the iPhone, of course. Concepts for the iPhone are limitless. But when it comes to the Apple Watch, it's kind of like, well, we got cellular, we got GPS, we got a pretty good battery life, we got lots of watch bands to choose from. And of course, I'm not referencing software for the people saying that you want third-party watch faces. I used to want that, but having used Android Wear and seeing what third parties do with watch faces, I'm kind of okay with Apple just sticking with their own. Plus, all the watch faces Apple offers are very, very customizable, and there's only minor tweaks I wish I could make with them, which would probably be made in watchOS 5. But despite all that, it's like, what more can your Apple Watch do? That's why my theory is still that the Series 4 this year has to have a primary focus on getting people excited for the Apple Watch again by a design change. Apple Watches have barely had any design change. There's nothing really wrong with it, but if you want people to be buying it again, you can't really think of anything functionally to add. A camera? Really? We also heard sad news that the glucose monitoring smart bands are probably further away than we think, because the technology is just not ready yet. So that idea is bust. So really, all I think they can do is make it thinner, perhaps make some design tweaks that are noticeable, or similar to the iPhone 7, if you can't get enough people buying it, you get them excited by customization in colors. So I would love to see a product red Apple Watch where the body of it is actually red, and they can do that with all kinds of different colors between blue and yellow. Maybe Apple could start working working on making really, really cheap Apple Watches, like the Apple Watch C with a body that's made of the same material as your AirPods or something, just so that it's cheaper to manufacture with a Series 1 processor or something like that, but it still supports AirPower. I'm very curious to see where Apple is going with it. A lot of people are actually thinking that Apple won't even do a refresh this year. I'm seriously hoping they do because they've been doing it every year for the past 3 now. And that's kind of what I've gotten used to. A new iPhone comes out, new Apple Watch comes out. And then we can buy them and pair them together and enjoy a whole new mobile ecosystem that comes with us wherever we go. I think there's plenty of design ideas that could still get people excited, even if functionally there's not much changing. Thinner bezels, Apple, always gets people excited. If you were able to shrink the bezels on the Apple Watch, people probably would get pumped. Hopefully expanding battery life and more colors. They've got quite an array so far, but if there's not much functionally you can add anymore other than like, hey, Bluetooth 5.0, great, then you gotta diversify that lineup just so people get interested in it again. So let me know what you think of the Series 4 and how you're enjoying your Series 3 Cellular thus far. All that good stuff, let me know in the comments below. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.